I remember the day we stood in the courtroom. The old judge leaned forward, peering over his glasses, and with a gentle smile said, "I see a lot of sorrow in this courtroom, but today is pure joy. It's an honor to make this adoption official and declare you a family." My hands were resting on the small shoulders of Dallas and Mariah, 3 and 2 years old at the time. The weight of years lifted before spilling out as tears. And in that moment, I realized something that once felt impossible. I was about to officially become a mother. But before I tell you how I got there, I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath with me. Please breathe in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Because if there's one thing I learned on the journey to become a mom, is that sometimes, through all the heartbreak, uncertainty, and paperwork that never seemed to end, is one deep breath at a time. The crinkling of paper beneath me echoed in the silence of the gynecologist's office. I was 15 and perched on the edge of the examination table. My legs were swinging nervously while I was trying to ignore the sterile smell in the air. Most of my friends had been complaining for years about cramps and tampons. But me? Nothing. No cramps, no period, and no sign that my body was following the rhythm everyone else seemed to take for granted. While waiting for the doctor, I worried, what if something is wrong with me? The doctor explained with a very serious face, "Your body is a bit of a puzzle." After several tests, blood work, and an ultrasound, I went for surgery. After the surgery, the doctor looked me straight in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, we couldn't find any eggs," which means it will be highly unlikely for you to have biological children. But it does explain why you don't have a period. I was in total shock. And while my friends were talking about dances and boyfriends, I was sitting in doctors' offices getting hormone treatments, and I wondered something no 15-year-old should have to wonder. Am I already grieving children I haven't even had yet? Deep breath. My life kept moving forward, and a decade later, I married my husband, Bas. 10 months into our marriage, we immigrated from the Netherlands to Canada so we could start farming. Our friends were starting their families, and while they celebrated their milestones, I put on a brave face, smiling. But inside, I was devastated and longing for a child of our own. Bas and I decided to consult with an infertility clinic, praying that after 10 years, there might be a glimmer of hope for us. Nothing says emotional torture while sitting under a poster that says, "Your miracle awaits," while the doctor walks in and says, "I'm sorry, even with all the new technology, we still can't help you conceive a baby." My stomach dropped, our hope shattered, and we stepped back into the hallway carrying nothing but another unanswered prayer. The loneliness was consuming at times, but Bas remained my anchor through the storm. One evening we sat on the couch, and I asked the question that kept me up at night. What if this is it? He held my hand and we sat quietly for a while. Then I said, maybe our children aren't meant to come from us. Maybe they're already out there, waiting for us. Bas asked, "You mean adoption?" "Mm-hmm." Anticipation hung in the room, and quietly, hope walked back in. We contacted an adoption social worker. The adoption process was complex, filled with lots of paperwork, a home inspection, and requests that felt insurmountable. I remember signing documents that felt like my heart was laid bare for more scrutiny. Some of the questions that we had to answer were, how much money do you make? How often do you have sex? How will you discipline a child? I worried if we were good enough, but finally we were approved. But the irony wasn't lost on me. Here we were, ready to welcome a child in our home, but it had taken over a year to prove that we were worthy of that. Meanwhile, those who could conceive could do so without a single question asked. Our social worker, Linda, suggested the foster to adopt route to us. But honestly, that terrified me because I wasn't sure I could handle having children in our home that might go back to their biological family. But Linda assured us that was highly unlikely to happen. And since we trusted her, we went ahead. An opportunity arose that seemed too good to be true. Linda informed us about a 6-month-old baby boy named Dallas. She said, after placement, it will only be 3 months and adoption will be finalized. That sounded great to us. My heart raced with anticipation while we walked into the foster home. I heard children laughing, and Dallas was in the exerciser. His auburn head was bent in concentration, but when he spotted us, his bright blue eyes lit up. I reached out to him, and he grabbed my hands, which felt like sealing the promise of our new life together. One September evening, he woke up crying in the middle of the night. I walked into his room, picked him up, and held him against my shoulder. He wrapped his tiny arms around my neck and settled into my chest. And without even thinking, I whispered, "It's okay, Mama is here." Mama, I had waited so long. And finally, it was true. As December approached, we eagerly anticipated making things official. But Christmas came and went. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. One day, the phone rang while I was folding laundry. "Hi, Gerda, it's Linda. I have some very difficult news to share. Dallas might be going back to his biological family after all." I ended the call. I stood frozen. Then my knees buckled and I sank to the floor. He might be leaving us? During this tumultuous time, a fellow foster mom had a beautiful little girl in her care. I remember the first time I met Mariah. At 9 months old, she was really tiny, but with a head full of beautiful strawberry blonde curls. And when she smiled at me, my heart melted. The agency decided to place Mariah in our care, and we welcomed her in our family. Mariah's mom was a single mom, without any support, and sadly with a lot of mental health issues. While the legal proceedings unfolded, the judge decided fairly quickly to make her a Crown ward, which meant she was free for adoption, and Buzz and I were overjoyed. However, Dallas's courtroom kept dragging on and on until everything began to fall apart for his biological parents. The chaos in their lives also meant there was hope for us, and I remember feeling the guilt of this duality. Eventually, the judge made Dallas a Crown ward as well. and we were so relieved. Finally, after 2.5 years, our courtroom day arrived. And when the judge said, "Today is pure joy," he was right. This joy had been built from years of grief and hope, from love that kept showing up even when the road twisted and turned. All those years ago, sitting in that doctor's office, holding my breath, I thought motherhood had been taken from me. But it wasn't. It was simply taking the long way home. Sometimes the only way life carries us to the people meant for us is one deep breath at a time. Thank you.